as a Nigerian, how do you feel? We are here and we are still battling with insecurity. We've not been able to even equip most of our security agencies. They complain about operational vehicles. And here we are being Father Christmas to Niger. And why Niger?
Thank you so much. The point is that a lot of things are happening. Let me take it off from the address presented by the president of the country, Buhari, during his visit, during the independence celebration of Liberia a few days ago. He talked about providing security. He discussed it, substantially discussed about security. So I just begin to wonder, how can he effectively discuss solutions to insecurity in Liberia when we are here in trouble and there's no solution in sight? And now, especially now, the terrorists are already around the corner, close to the advancing, really close to state of power. However, what the acquisition of exotic cars, the guise of fighting insecurity in Niger, is the height of celebration of corruption, and also insensitivity to the plight of Nigerians. That money would have gone to some extent in resolving taking care of the burning issues that has to do with household demands at present. But if I will ask you, if I may ask in the circumstance, have you seen, at least we have been here a long while, have at least been seeing our security agents, police, DSS, and the what they call it, and the army in the operations? I mean, police, DSS personnel, officials, and also the military in the operation. Have you seen any of them move around with exotic cars in that kind of vehicle? Have you seen any of them moving? Even the police are managing their vehicles being given to them, which they find difficult to maintain. So it's kind of a conduit for him to fulfill the promises that I've given to the people of Niger. So I don't think there is any it cannot be taken serious. The federal government cannot be taken serious in that circumstance, because I know they have it's kind of it's an opportunity they want to use to satisfy a promise, to fulfill a promise given to their people over there. And it's unfortunate that it's happening at this point in time when when the federal government is borrowing money from foreign government to service their loan. And today, the federal government of the country is being running deficit. They borrow money now to pay salaries. So how can you justify doing such amount of money to buy exotic cars in the name of promoting security in Nigeria? But we cannot. There's no same person, same government that can embark in that kind of wasteful spending. Thank you.
All right, and for a lot of Nigerians, it's highly insensitive. Though some persons have argued that, when your neighbor has problem, you can afford also not to eat and decide to feed your neighbor. I don't know whether you buy into that argument.
There is no justification whatsoever. I listened to someone yesterday night on the mission and struggling to defend the madness, the simple speaking, and I pity them. Because all of us are in this situation together. So there's no justification whatsoever. You have to resolve your problem first of all before talking about somebody else's problem. We have serious contending issues. ASU has been on strike for the past 5 months, and they're not discussing any solution. There's no solution in sight. Our students has been at home. Some of them must have lost their life in the course of trying to find a living. So, and nobody's talking about this thing. These are the future. So nobody's talking about them. Solution to their problem, to resolving our society also impacts. No. They're talking what the government is concerned about, giving the 1.7 billion to go and acquire exotic cars is a possibility, which is totally abominable in the circumstance. This height of insensitivity to the plight of Nigerians as a whole. So Nigeria has been taken for a ride, and I believe time will come when they will be held responsible, accountable for for what they've done in the past. Thank you so much.
All right, let's now shift gear to the issue of the court judgment and award that you got sometime last year. To the best of our ability, I don't think the government has responded. Let's look at it. Let's take maybe a little bit of memory lane. What actually happened before we now go to the issue of the court and the judgment and government's reactions since that time?
Well, however, the point is that since the inception of this case, it was 15, I started handling IPOB cases, defending Nnamdi. After I lost my voice. So I've been exposed to a number of prejudice and threats from the state. So, and I refuse to be intimidated whatsoever, because I know I'm doing my best. I'm doing my work as a lawyer, rendering my professional services within the confines of the ethics. So, and nobody will stop me from doing that. So, and as such, I've been exposed to a number of threats. However, it comes to climax. First of all, this happened 2nd of December 2019. That was first invasion. My house was invaded, people were killed, houses were burnt. So, all in an attempt to eliminate me, I went to court to challenge it, and I won that case. On June last year, 6th of June, I traveled home for a very crucial meeting. At the wee hours of the night, at about 2 a.m. in the morning, my house was invaded by security personnel, namely soldiers, DSS, and other paramilitary personnel that were there. The security defense. I was in the house. Jumped into my house, jumped inside the house. Then the first person that came in went and opened the gate. All the activities in my house were clearly captured via CCTV footage, which have tendered in court. So, and my worry is not that they came to my house, that they scared to defense, but rather they went right inside my guest house and killed my PA who was sleeping, who suddenly murdered him, and took his cuffs away. Eventually came back within that period of time. Took my vehicle away, my Toyota Camry, took that car away, dumped the cuffs inside the car. Then on their way, probably going back to where they came from. Because my elder brother was arrested or abducted at that point, and also 3 of my domestic staff were abducted. So on their way going back, they stopped at where they call Nobi in Anambra State. So, and ordered my brother to leave. So my brother left, was dropped there. So, and they proceeded. So when they got to Nene in Anocha government, that was where they set the vehicle in place with my PA inside the vehicle. So I have done everything humanly possible. Immediately after that incident, I wrote to the SSS, I wrote to the police, I wrote to the military, requesting for a thorough investigation of their personnel involved in that dastardly act. All these petitions were all tendered in court and admitted in evidence. So, and they didn't take any step. So they didn't take the police did not investigate. Neither SSS was investigated nor the military. None of them investigated my complaint about was on gross violation of my rights and also invasion of my premises. So I went to court again. And on 22nd of July this month, 2022, His Lordship Honorable Justice Gajiwa delivered a landmark judgment in that suit and found Nigerian security agents liable for gross violation of my rights. Apparently His Lordship watched the CCTV camera footage and also declared the invasion of my premises illegal and oppressive and gross violation of my rights, and also abduction of my three domestic staff who are still being detained at the SSS headquarters today. So declared the abduction illegal. So it's interesting also to note that during these proceedings, SSS were represented. They have a lawyer in court. The military have a lawyer in court. As in they had a lawyer in court, I represented them. Same is applicable to the police. So they were all in accord, denying ever stepping their feet in my house. Did I ever been involved in the operation? That's the bloody operation, the invasion of my house. Well, evidence abounds. My brother saw them, who was abducted. The camera captured it clearly. And also, we have further evidence to show that three of my domestic staff that were abducted on that day, they were subjected to somewhat, they were being tortured. When they were being tortured, somebody snapped them, and posted on his Facebook wall. So we were able to get those information and evidence, and it was in that in court too. So furthermore, the information also, in the course of my visits to SSS, I was informed that my boys were there, but they had better contact with somebody that told me they were there. So, and when I'm with that information, I wrote to the DJ again, asking him to release my boys. They can't continue to deny they're not there. They were there. They are there as I speak to you. I said, release my boys. So up till now, they've not done that until the judgment was delivered on the 2nd. And they've been served with this judgment. So the point that there should be an end to executive lawlessness. What happened in my house on 6th of June 2021 it's something I can never forget in the haste. Even our neighbors cannot forget in the haste. Even after living in the trauma, I still been traumatized when I remember it. Because I was at home. And the game plan, I understand that the game plan or the target was me. Assuming what we are going to ask ourselves, assuming that these people who are not denying, who have denied on oath, ever coming to my house, assuming they were able to have access to me, able to assess me that day, and succeeded, if not because of actually out of progress in killing me. That's what they would tell the public. But today they're saying in court, they said in court, on oath, you know, if they filed in court, they didn't come to my house. They didn't come. They said in court they didn't come to my house. And if you want, I will make available the clips. So if you watch it, you know the level of decay in the system. But the sense of coming to my house is nothing but just to come and eliminate me and possibly kill another person. A peaceful. And incidentally, I traveled from Abuja that day. On that same day, on 5th of June, I left Abuja to my village for a meeting. So assuming there was any investigation going on against me as a person, I was being contacted in Abuja here by those that came to kill my people. I was in Abuja all through before I traveled for a meeting, stakeholders meeting. So, and they monitored my movement. Possibly have the target, me and my PA, and possibly any other on site. But as God will have it, God spared my life. So I've already filed communication with relevant international agency and also foreign government to get involved, because I want this matter to be thoroughly addressed. It will take me going to ICC. We'll do that. It's more so when a pronouncement of the court has been made. So what I am urging the federal government to do, which a request I've put forward to His Excellency President Mohamed Buhari, is to prevail on the DGSSS to release my staff who are there. They will take it off from there.
All right. You made mention of you want the matter thoroughly investigated beyond the financial award or damages awarded to you. Right now they are claiming not to have come.
The point is that I am not all that interested about the money. So that shouldn't be my interest, because there's no amount of money a court will award today that will bring back the life of my PA that was murdered, suddenly murdered. But I want this matter to be thoroughly looked into, particularly when the pronouncement has been made by the court. And let me correct this impression, because I told the press during my last during the time they came for, I went there for a press conference. At this point in time, the judgment of the court was made on a findings of facts, based on facts and documents presented before the court. There's no allegation against. And it's not a matter of being alleged that somebody was killed, that somebody invaded. No, the issue of allegation has been resolved. So because and it's more so when the lawyers representing the police the military and the SSL were in court. They all presented their own case, and the court found merit in our case, and awarded judgment and gave judgment in our favor. So it's a full judgment of the court which indicted the Nigerian security agents for invasion of my house, gross violation of my house, and also killing of my PA. So this is why we are going to take it a step further. And as I speak to you, three of my domestic staff are still being detained, and they're denying it. And I know they are there. They are there. They know they are there. So, and they're denying it. So this is, at this point in time, we are taking it a big step further, because we are going to engage relevant foreign institution. In this case, we have taken steps to that effect. They have to get involved. I'm a lawyer. I cannot be killed because I'm defending the law of IPOB or defending IPOB. What offense have I committed?
All right. Before we go on, there is a breaking news, and that's the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has just ended a meeting with Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, and the report we are getting is that the meeting ended on a positive note. Former Information Minister and PDP stalwart Professor Jerry Ghana said that the meeting ended on a positive note, and both men agreed to shield their sword and work for victory in next year's election. That is what is coming out from that. And already Emeka Nweke just sent out a message. The Nigerian government should immediately release the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We support anyone in the name of justice for all, defend themselves from annihilation. Thank you. And Austin Sami, God will defend you, sir, and your enemies will be put to shame. This coming from Austin Sami. Austin, thank you. And also from Austin, okay, from Mecca. Okay. So for now, why do you think they are denying being in custody of your three staff?
It's simple. I know. The level of atrocities committed in my house, I doubt it so much that any responsible security agents will own up to that. Because they cannot explain why my house was invaded in the first place at that time of the night. Even if you are acting on any false information, then assume it's one thing that he came to my house, another thing he came and arrested and killed somebody in his sleep, murdered him. It's not enough that the person was killed, gruesomely murdered. He took his corpse away somewhere and burnt it.
Have they appealed this judgment?
How can they appeal? How can they appeal? It's a very very tight judgment. How can they appeal? I'm not against them. They have the right of appeal. Of course, I'm waiting for them to appeal. How can they appeal? I believe because of the level of atrocities committed by these people.
If, for instance, they are denying invading your house and this judgment has been given and they are not appealing, they are also denying being in custody of your staff and obviously also denying killing your PA, then what is preventing them from appealing the judgment? But also when you are in court.
I'm ready to take that matter to Supreme Court. That's fair case. Even if it will take us going to Supreme Court, I'll go to Supreme Court. But I can assure you one thing this evening. From Relief A to Relief 9, as granted by His Lordship, Honorable Justice I must execute all of them to the letter. The court also directed them in that judgment that they should identify their personnel involved in this dastardly act and sanction them according in line with the law. Because the court queried, how can you tell me that the people that did this are human beings? In his judgment, it's black and white. He directed the police, the military, the SSS to identify their personnel involved and sanction them. So it's something that is very traumatizing. So the point is that I am waiting for them to appeal. Apart from waiting for them to appeal, I'm taking another step to ensure that that judgment is executed. I can't just go and fold my hands. It's impossible.
Why do you think up till now, all the military or security agencies involved didn't bother to investigate the matter, or they investigated and decided to pretend nothing happened?
Because they know what happened. Now, let me say this to you. In a civilized society, assuming they're not part, they don't know those who are responsible for that, they have investigated it. Simple. They didn't know who are involved. In our language, in a common parlance, they know what they call ojobo. Otherwise, when you do something illegal and you don't know how to own up. So the point is that they know who are involved. Otherwise, tell me why the military didn't investigate. Tell me why the police not investigate. Tell me why I wrote to SSS twice. I went there personally. I even have to meet some of their officials to demand for the release of this people. Up till now, they've not investigated it. They didn't investigate. They never investigated my complaint. So they know those who are involved. They can't deny that part.
How long and how far are you ready to go if the government is not willing to either own up or execute the judgment, comply with the judgment of the court?
It's simple. That's what they call a crime against humanity. This is what has been established in what happened in my house. Now, we have other relevant institutions. We have a place like ICC. We have a place to resort to. International body are going to resort to report the matter to them, to complain. It's more so when the Nigerian security has been indicted in judgment of the court. So we have gone past beyond the level of investigation. They've been indicted. So, and up till now, they've not taken any step to say one thing or the other about judgment of the court. Whether we're going to comply, or we have this support with you, or that this thing happened, we don't know this and this one happened. So we have other avenues to ventilate our anger. We can't fight them. I'm a lawyer, we can't fight them. We've already engaged certain persons. We're going to take it up from there. Because can't just put our hands on how to stand.
Some persons we want to ask, as a lawyer and a very prominent face, at least in the last couple of years since you got involved with Nnamdi Kanu IPOB, if this could happen to you, what of the ordinary Nigerian, probably who has no name and who has no face?
So a lot has been going on in the system. People have been killed like animals. See what happened in Imo State last 2 months ago, 3 months ago. People were returning from traditional wedding. 4 of them were murdered by a bad group, and someone from somewhere went to claim responsibilities that were the people that killed. I mean, the SSS. We took it up. Matter is in court now, as I speak to you. We're taking it up. So you see, people, and that is the end. Nobody will say anything about it again if we're not going to court again. Some people are being killed, particularly in the southeast. If you are, I am not against fight. I'm not against fight against insecurity. I also encourage that. I push against that, against insecurity. I also encourage law enforcement agents and also volunteers to get involved to clean our lands of all forms of crimes. But in so doing, you should also make sure that you're within the rules of engagement. You can't be killing people at random. You can't shoot anybody on the street without profiling the person. You're not even allowed to shoot without investigating the person. We have record of people that has been murdered in their cold blood, over 100, 200 in the southeast. So people are being, as I speak to you, that people are being killed on a daily basis without someone taking responsibility. So if this can happen to me, it can happen to every other person. Look at what happened in Nnamdi Kanu's house on September 14, 2018. His house was invaded, and people, armed civilians, were murdered. 28 of them were murdered in cold blood. 28 persons were murdered. It's not a thing of the past. Young people who are not armed, they are killed.
How do you reconcile the fact that people agitate just talking, and then the government bear the full weight of the law, in quotes, against them, and you have people who openly declare war on the state, and we seem to be pampering them or pretending that nothing is wrong? How do you reconcile it?
You see, the point that this government, with utmost respect to them, have a serious prejudice against the people of Southeast. I will say it without any fear of equivocation. That I will say. Now, let me take you back to the memory lane. During the administration of President Goodluck, when this Boko Haram, when they started, shortly before it, when they started, he created a menace. He set up what they call a committee. That committee was chaired by Nnamdi, Islam advocate of Nigeria, a committee on dialogue with Boko Haram. And that committee was empowered to dialogue with Boko Haram. These are people who are terrorists, who are people who are killing. People who are killing. They now, during the early stage of this administration, what are IPOB members contesting for? They are merely exercising the right to self-determination, which is a right protected and instantly provided under our laws. What they do was to send security personnel against them. In our high school, over 28 persons were killed, May 26, 2016. More, over 17 were killed because they were just carrying flag, shouting, "He was our people. We want our freedom," without any form of arms. Happened at Mbo on the axis. 2016, 2015, 2017 was brutal. There was no effort made by the government. Even after the Kanu was granted bail on 14th of April 2017, as a responsible government, we expected that at that point in time, there must be a move to engage this guy. Set up a committee that will engage him. Let us talk with this guy. Let's talk with them. What is the problem? How can we go about it? No. They are the classes. They've been relegated to the background. We don't want them, can't do anything to them. Instead, they send military against him. They sent soldiers to his house on between 10th and 14th, but 14th was the climax, to kill him. So the government is insensitive to the plight of the people, particularly in Southeast. I can say that because we have the trajectory of what they've done to them. As I speak to you, I have defended over 1,000 cases of IPOB in court, and I've won all of them. I've won since the provided prescription of IPOB, because God knows that it's a political prescription. The provided prescription is a political. That cannot stand. That cannot stand as of law. So the point is that they have nothing against. They have no case against them. But here you have SYMFONI, you have Boko Haram, you have condemned them, decimating our security agents on that basis, boasting about who they will kidnap and who they will not kidnap, operating in almost all the states of the northern states. Even we who are here, we're not safe again. We're not asked not to go to a crowded place, not to go to shop, not to go to marketplace, even you. And nothing's being done about that. I listened to someone this morning on live television who was interviewed about it, who was once a negotiator, who participated in one way or other to discuss about the graduation of those that were kidnapped at by the train, victims. And he said a lot of things. He was bold enough to tell the government that even if these people were all released, that's not the end to that. That shouldn't be the solution to the problem. He said this morning, from what he has seen, sending military cannot solve the problem. That they have to be engaged. On national television. Because there are same things there. Even those who came, who recently regained their freedom, is talking about government engaging them. So this is a situation we find ourselves today in country. But on a daily basis, a lot of atrocities are going on in the south. Innocent people are being killed. I can give you documents.
Do you want to think that some persons have tried to argue that the case of the South is self-inflicted? Do you believe that?
It's not self-inflicted. I cannot say that, because the point is that our people with due respect to them, are afraid to speak out.
Why do you think?
I don't know why I don't know. I can't just explain why, because I believe I can't just give reasons to that effect. But they are afraid to speak out. I don't know why they're not speaking. I may not be able to discuss it here, but they are afraid to speak out. A lot of things are going on there. We have no leader who is speaking. Nobody to castigate, to criticize government decision or policies that are not favorable to the Southeast. Nobody will say it. To criticize clear case policies. Clear policies are not favorable to the Southeast. They won't say it. They won't even discuss. They won't say a word. They are afraid. They won't say a word. They don't talk about it.
Does it have anything to do with probably their hands being soiled, or they are just?
It's not far from that. It's not far from that. But the point is that I used to tell people, be careful, they will kill you. I said, forget it. I've seen it all. As I see me. If my hands are not clean, I will not be alive today. If my hands are not clean, I will not be alive. I am here on a divine mission. I'm not afraid of anybody, as I see me. Not even the soul, I'm not afraid of anybody. Because I know the path in which I'm moving. And I don't have any fear. And I speak the truth to the authority without minding whose us is God. Because I know my hands are clean. You know, you cannot eat a cake and have it back.
Sure.
That's settled. You can't eat a cake and have it back. That's what's happening to our people.
And why do you think the government is not ready or considering dialoguing with Nnamdi Kanu? A lot of persons have argued that probably the issue
that I can assure you. I can say one thing clear to you. In the course of this case, some moves were made. Some moves were made for possible discussion out of court and possible political solution. But I can confirm to you at this point in time, authoritatively, that move was killed by our people. Sure. It was killed by our own people. There was a move. I was involved. I was involved as his lawyer. That move was killed by our own people. I can say that to you. It was. I don't know whether I believe it appears that some people are benefiting from crisis. I begin to suspect some people are benefiting from crisis. It's obvious. It was killed by our people. I will not go into detail, but I just take it from me. Very serious move.
Do you think it has something to do, probably some people being, do I say, jealous of Nnamdi Kanu having a towering stature in case he's released?
You will not be far from that too. You will not be far from that.
For you, if your idea or your opinion is to be the overriding opinion or decision, what do you think would be an answer, a panacea to the issue of the Southeast and IPOP agitation of non-government?
The point is that the federal government has succeeded in filing empty charge against Nnamdi, my client, as Nnamdi Kanu. He's been detained today not because he committed an offense unto law. We're in court. Have you seen situations whereby you file a charge today? We are coming to court to deal with that charge you file. Then the same way, at the wee hours of the night, you file another charge. You ambush us with another charge, amended charge. We have been in this process since he was abducted in Kenya and extraordinary relation to Nigeria. They're not ready for the man to go. Because they know they have committed no offense to law. But you see, this matter, if you go by law, Nnamdi Kanu has no reason to be there. Be in that solitary confinement where he's being kept today. Whatsoever. And there's nothing that can be done about this without him being released. Everything about this case, if you want us to go by law, then we leave him out, even release him. Release him. There's no charge before him in court. No charge whatsoever.
I'm sure some persons
there's
will
no
be
charge
surprised when you say there is
there's no charge. I can say that to you. When come up today, there's no charge.
Why is he being detained?
The charge is empty. He's being persecuted. He's been detained because of because they want him to be there.
You see what?
His tension is political. His tension today is political. That's why we're in court of appeal. But you've asked me a very pertinent question. First of all, the panacea to the total resolution of this problem is for immediate and non-conditional release of Nnamdi Kanu. Immediate and non-conditional release of Nnamdi Kanu. It's more so when the UN, the one group on arbitrary detention of United Nations Human Rights Council, recently directed for his immediate and unconditional release and preparation to prepare their to. And let me point something out clearly before I proceed. That communication from the working group was made after listening to the parties. Yes, when they were served with the complaint filed by his lawyers over there was served on the federal government for them to respond, and they responded. He wasn't taken without listening to them. And it was established, first of all, by them that he was abducted in Kenya. And international law provides for the procedure to be adopted when arresting a person from another country and returning the person to another country to face criminal trial. The law is there. And we also have our own Selection Act, Section 15, Law of FLA 204, which is very clear also in that respect. These international laws were grossly violated by the federal government. Before now, they've not said anything about where he was arrested. They've not owned up about how he was abducted. But in response to a suit to file, a separate suit to file before the federal court, which is now pending before it's not able justice level, they have clearly on oath admitted he was abducted in Kenya. In fact, that process formed part of the documents looked into by the working group. They admitted he was abducted in Kenya. They admitted he was after being adopted in Kenya. They took him to a stipulated facility according to them. Before bringing, so that has been settled by that process, and it was part of the. If you look at that's decision, communication from the working group, you see where they made mention of that. They clearly stated about how the admission by the federal government. So parties were given opportunity to present their own cases. It wasn't unilaterally made. The federal government was allowed to also make representation to them, and they made it. And they found merit in the complaint before them, before directing for his immediate and unconditional release, which if they continue to fail to comply with, there's no doubt about it, it triggered the diplomatic conflict with the UN.
So that's what I was going to.
I know what will cause implication sanction. Of course, you know. They must obey. It will be a different thing. You see, because that was not stated. I don't think people has been informed about this. It will be a different thing if the mail looked into the complaint presented by his lawyers. No. That same complaint, the communication, they sent to the federal government, then they responded.
Fair hearing.
They responded. They could not justify his abduction in Kenya and extraordinary extradition to Nigeria to face a new charge. Entirely new charge. It was stated bit by bit in that ruling. So they have no option. They can no longer run away from it. They must comply and obey that resolution, that communication. Otherwise, the big stick will be weighed against.
Now, you have quite a number of cases in court on your own personal side, on Nnamdi's side, and all of these where do you derive the energy to pursue all of these issues? Just like some persons will ask, were you not afraid for yourself when you were taking up the issue of IPOB and Nnamdi?
We have gone beyond that point. The point is that I'm a person. I'm kind of, let me put it this way. I'm ordained by God to do this work for them. And when God calls you for a particular purpose, He will give you the strength, He will give you the protection, He will give you the wisdom. You see, what has happened to me in the course of this case is sufficient enough to discourage me. But it's impossible. I know that the onslaught against my person is just to intimidate me into leaving the case. But then I can't compromise. They are highly impossible. But that shouldn't be that cannot be possible. Because I wasn't called by a human being to do this case. No. I wasn't called by a human being to do this case. It was God that called me to take over the defense of this case. And I've said it earlier and I'm saying it again. I've done over 1,000 cases for IPOB members. And in all, I won all the cases across the courts, both Abuja, Anambra, Imo, Port Harcourt, Abia, boy. Name them. I won all of them, Delta State too, with no exception. Not because I am the most brilliant, but God will give you the wisdom. Because these guys have committed no offense unto me. They have been attacked unprovoked. If you are taking steps to invite this man, you don't neglect him. Invite him, let us sit down and discuss. I've told you about how a committee was set up to dialogue with terrorists. Then those who are agitating and exercising their right as also instantly protect provided under the law. You can't call them to discuss with them. Our people tell you don't call them down, they are miscreants. Let me not use foul language against them. If this was done probably sometime in 2017, the situation will not be the same as it is today. It's not that it will stop the agitation. But that agitation has come to stay. It has come to stay. But we take a form. And people's rights should be respected. People's liberty should be respected.
Do you look at this government as being sectional in terms of the way they deal with issues committed by in the southeast?
No, you don't need to ask that question. It goes without saying. You don't need to ask me that question. It goes without saying. That's sectional. That's sectional. In Nigeria, we have two different sets of laws. In this country, this contraption, we have two different sets of laws. One applicable to the southeast, one applicable to the north, one applicable to the south, and one applicable to the southwest.
All right. It's still Road to 2023 on Symphony, and I'm being joined tonight by a legal counsel for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, Sir Ifeanyi Ejiofor, and we are looking at the illegal invasion of his house in Orifite sometime in the past, and the court judgment that awarded him damages, I think, to the tune of 102 million.
107 million.
107 million, which the government is yet to comply, despite being in court when this judgment was awarded. And of course, the UN Working Group directive that Nnamdi Kanu be released unconditionally. Obi Oji is joining us this evening. Obi, good evening.
Good evening. Sorry to join in late.
No problem. Obi is joining us from the United States, and Paul Archer is joining us from Italy. Paul, good evening. All right, Obi, let's hear from you. Maybe you might have one or two comments or questions for our guest, because he might want to hear from you. You might have one or two questions for him.
Yeah.
Actually,
I just joined in like 10 minutes ago, but everybody in abroad that have interest in Nigeria or Biafra land know what's going on, the way inhumane they are doing to Mazi Nnamdi. But Attorney Ejiofor, good evening, good evening over there, please.
Good evening, Mr. How are you?
So I'm sorry, it is unfortunate that justice system in Nigeria is corrupt. Even the court on the lower level, the ordinary magistrate court will give order, DPO will not even acknowledge it. I have been in several occasions that the government judge will give order. Nobody, even common local government chairman, does not obey the court order. So I am sorry, you have to hang in there, like America say, my brother, hang in there. We support you. Whether if they don't pay you your money or release Nnamdi from now to next year, God will surely help him survive him. He will survive all the trouble and he will come out by next year by God's grace. If another administration come, everything will be fine. We will hang in there. Just keep it doing what you are doing. You're doing a good job with your team. I am fortunate to born in Omaha and grew up in Omaha. I know him very well. I know his brothers. It's like about 5 minutes drive from where I stay in Omaha. We all grew up. We play ball in Afaruku. I know him very well. He's a nice guy and he's a straightforward human being. I hope that God will continue to strengthen him on the new administration to come to release him, because to be honest with you, looking at Buhari administration, they want to keep him there until he leaves. But whatever they do to him, God will pay them back in 100 times in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Obi. Just hang on. Of course, you know how we do it. We had to tweak a lot of things because of him. Started with the main issue. Is Paul still around? Paul, are you still with us? All right. Case Paul is not on now. So whenever Paul comes, he can join us and share in case he has a question for him. He can go ahead. And a lot of persons are a little bit worried about the trend of the prosecution of Nnamdi Kanu, even though the government consistently have engaged you and you consistently and boldly maintain there are no charges against him and there are no cases known before the law against him. When you say this, at times I get confused because I wonder why, if you're saying this boldly, and then the government, is it that both the judges themselves don't see the argument you people present, or there is more?
Let me just simplify you now. Let me just simplify it somehow. You know, when he was abducted in Kenya and extraordinary addition to Nigeria, he was taken to court sometime to 90 or June 2021. And the matter was considered like John because we are not informed. So when we got to court on that first appearance, we would have 7 count amended charge. So which they fired after he was brought into after he was smuggled into Nigeria. So we filed an objection to the charge. After looking at the charge, we discovered that this charge has no merit. This charge has not disclosed any offense until we may not understand that part. Because for a charge to be discussed in the first place, there are ingredients on the face that when you look at it, on the face of that charge, or proof evidence attached there, that those ingredients will be present. So we discovered that the charge has nothing like charge. That this charge has no force of law. They were all empty. So we challenge it. When that was done, and adjourned for an argument on our objection to the charge and also the decision of the court to proceed, they filed 15 count and made the charge. Served on us a day before the matter was slated for hearing, and went back and also filed another objection to the charge. In fact, as a matter of fact, Mr. Savik, let me say this to you. Even the 15-count amended charge that was filed, the one that was filed later, was even more emptier than the one they filed before. So we challenge all of them. And in all, 13 out of that 15-count charge had the same information. They had the same information, 13 out of that 15-count charge, and was challenged. The court delivered a ruling, it's not she, but we just delivered a ruling, and struck out 8 counts out of 15, remaining 7. I said, no, there's no difference between these 7 still pending and the 8 that was struck out. They are all the same thing. All of them should go. We won't go of appeal. Their matter, thankfully, the matter is not coming up for hearing on the 11th of October. Hearing of the appeal. So because the government has also, they've also served a respondent brief on us. So 2 days ago. So I believe it's now right for us for appeal to be had. So we know, and I may not be able to delve much into the substance otherwise of the process before the court, but I can totally confirm to you there's no charge before the court. Do you know why it is still there? Now, okay, assuming without considering to the fact that Nnamdi is facing any criminal trial at all, any charge at all, what is supposed to be detained in a solitary confinement at DSS? Even when court has ordered, giving guidelines as to how we're going to meet with him, all the orders the court made as to the guideline, all the guideline the court laid for having meeting with him as lawyers, and also things they'll be doing for him, they were all flattered with impunity. The court directed the SS to allow his personal physician to visit him, and also kind of visit him and also examine him for a second opinion. That's the order of the court. It wasn't obeyed. It was flouted. The court asked them to allow him to practice his faith when in the detention. It was flouted. The court asked them to give him to make a provision for a more comfortable place for him to stay there. It was flouted. The court asked them to allow him to change his clothes. It was flouted. There are many of them. And you go back to the court to file a contempt proceedings, to issue a contempt proceeding against the authority. And this year I will not sign it. He will tell you point blank, he will tell you to your face, I will not sign it. Are you getting what I'm saying? You have come back to the court to report. I'm not talking about his lordship, I'm talking about this year. You file from 48, which is a process to be initiated to commit somebody for contempt, committal proceedings. This year, Lord Federal High Court to say, let me tell you, I will not sign this thing.
All right. Paul Archer is back. Paul is joining us from Italy. Paul?
Yeah, Mr. Victor, good evening from here.
Evening, Paul. Do you have any question, comment, or reaction to our guest?
Yes.
Yes,
okay, yes, I do have.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, let me greet our honorable barrister. I really appreciate your handwork. I really appreciate what you have been doing towards our leader. I also believe that God Almighty will always protect you from them. They can only try, but they will never get you. We all saw what happened in your house. We all saw what happened in our leader's heart. We know they are fighting him for just nothing. The world know that they have never committed any crime. Self-determination will never be a crime. Even here in Europe, they do fight for it. But they have never linked to this kind of extent that they kill most of our brother in Eastern region there. First of all, I'm just from part of the southern part of the country. I'm from Delta State. But he paid me whenever I saw what is happening in our region there. I'm from Agbo. We are not safe from there. Those flying herdsmen, they always attack our people. They can't go farm anymore. I see what is going on. But the major problem here is that our leader, they hold him for nothing. They kidnapped him from Kenya. UN have already spoke that they claim they have nothing to do about it. But I promise that this can never bring peace in that region. Why? Because The election they are preparing can never hold in Eastern region. Sorry to say it in here. I'm not supposed to say it here, but I cannot keep it anymore. That election can never hold. If it can hold in northern part, maybe in southwest, even part of south. But you see that southeast, it can never hold, except they release our leader. It's only our leader we say we should go and vote, then we vote. Thank you very much. That is what I will say. Thank you very much, our able solicitor. May God protect you.
Amen. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Onyefeze, where are you calling from? Okay. All right. We have some messages that have come in as well. Let's see some of the messages that came in. Okay. Benson, Angelo, you have done nothing wrong for standing up for the truth, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be released. Onyendu Peter, your enemy will not succeed, sir.
Amen.
Okay. And then Eze Udo, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and let nothing do our lawyer.
Amen.
Benson Angelo, my able advocate Mazi Ejiofor, thank you so much, sir, for coming online this particular matter. We are aware of that crime and murder and damage of assets and unlawful kidnap.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We support anyone. This is we support anyone in the name of justice for all to defend themselves from annihilation by any group who wish them harm. So, Governor Autumn and Benue people, you have our support and prayers. Thank you. Paul Iwunze has also joined us from the US. Paul.
Good evening, Mr. Victor.
Evening, Paul. Let's hear you. You have a question, comment for Mazi Ejiofor.
Yeah, good evening, our able barrister. Thank you for your good work. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Paul. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to say that our major problem is our governors, our representatives in any level, because they're not serving our interests. They're not protecting us. Rather, they're selling us out. Because any child that is being backed by the parents, that child will succeed. But our governors, they do the opposite. They do the opposite. We saw what happened in our leader's house, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's house. How the federal government displayed their military might in his house, and none of our governors condemned it. That's just one example. And many other things, they don't say anything. Rather, they are the one leading them in, because there is no how outsider will come into your house without an insider leading them. So that is our major problem, our governors and our leaders. But barrister, I don't know what we are doing about that, or if there is anything we can do about that. And again, barrister, I have a question, because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was abducted in Kenya, and there is no way Nigerian government will come in there, in another land, to do that adoption without the aid of Kenyan government. So I also want to ask, what are we doing against about that? Like, is there something like a lawsuit against them, against the Kenyan government? Because it's wrong. Because he didn't commit any crime in that land, in the land of Kenya. So in their land. So I think it's wrong for them to aid Nigerian government to come there and adopt him. So is there something like a lawsuit against them? And sorry, before I answer that, sir. Sorry. Secondly, the ultimatum the UN gave Nigerian government to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. is there a date, a set date? Because I know that Nigerian government, they don't obey orders and law. So is there a date given to them to, to do that? Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. First of all, a lawsuit was commenced in Kenya immediately after Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was abducted and there's another addition to Nigeria. The lawsuit is still live today. So going on in Kenya. Secondly, if you critically look at thoroughly look at that communication from the working group of on arbitrary detention, you will discover that part of the direction in that communication also affects Kenya's government. It also affects them. So they also indicted them for participating in the abduction and the externalization of Nnamdi Kanu in gross violation of Western laws, Western international laws. So they also find them in that. They were also sanctioned in that ruling. So these are two serious action has been taken against the Kenyan government. However, the communication from the directive from the working group has been served on the federal government of Nigeria, and they gave a maximum period of 6 months within which to comply. So which has started running. And apart from this, there are other measures being taken to ensure total compliance with immediate effect. So which I may not competently discuss with you on this platform, because these are strategies that need not be meant to public. But they've been served with this communication, and they're expecting compliance with this communication. We also understand that this government has no respect for rule of law. But we know that this is a communication from a very responsible international body, which Nigeria is a party to the treaty they signed. Now, if they fail to comply with directives from the UN, of course, sanction follows. Sanction follows. Apart from other measures, other legal measures that will be taken to ensure that they are compelled to comply with those with the direction. So, but I may not be able to go further than this at this platform, because as I speak to you, people are watching, and people who are in court with, we may like to listen to me to know they can get an info about the strategies we are taking, but they will not get it here, and they cannot get it again. Thank you so much.
There is some persons who want clarity that the UN working group on arbitrary detention, their pronouncement or their directive, they want to know, does it amount to a UN judgment or a UN pronouncement?
Of course, it's a working group on arbitrary detention of UN Human Rights Council. It's a council. It's a direction for UN. So this is a body. It's a body under United Nations. So that communication wouldn't have been given in the first place without the sanction of the UN. So UN is a directive that must be complied with, and they advise Nigerian government to ensure immediate compliance between for the period they were served with the communication until 6 months. So we can't tell me that that communication will emanate from UN without the UN authority being on the know. It was issued by working group, as I said earlier, on arbitrary detention. Because Nnamdi Kanu, because they've taken into account the trajectory, abduction in Kenya, the international law that was flouted, like international covenant on civil and political rights, which Nigeria ratified in 1983, was grossly violated. And also, international human rights was also flouted by Nigerian government, and covenant was also complied by the international under all Article 9 provided for under the International Human Rights Convention were all flouted by Nigerian government. So, and this was the basis upon which they found Nigerian government liable for gross violation of Nnamdi Kanu's international guarantee rights. Now, and it's also when these international laws were clear and extant as to the procedures to be adopted by any government who is seeking to repatriate anybody from another country to face a crime, probably to return the person to another country to face a crime. The procedures were extant under our laws. So, as I already said, before this proceeding was concluded, the government of Nigeria was represented. They also made a representation. And if you look at that report, you see how they discuss each and every paragraph of Nigerian government submissions, where they were unable to found them inability, they found them unable to justify this XYZ thing. So they have no option other than to comply. They must comply it. This is a communication for United Nations. They must comply with it. Thank you.
Someone wanted to know, have you, as his legal counsel, whether you've made any statements or pronouncements on this matter? Maybe to escalate it to the knowledge of Nigerians, maybe they can prevail on government to respond.
No, of course, if it hasn't been discussed or is not being aggressively pursued, we will not be aware of it. Immediately communication was released, it became a matter of common knowledge. Even in the media, it's trended, and it's still trending, as a matter of fact. So, and we're not going back. We're not taking anything for chance to ensure it's complied with. So, and of course, whatever that's taking place in this case here is being communicated to United Nations. They are following up. They are following up because, as a matter of fact, the facts that was presented to the working group at the point of adjudication or deliberation on this on the complaints, we are all facts that emanated from the manner in which he was arrested, from the manner in which he was extraordinary rendition to Nigeria, and also the facts of the charge the government filed against him in court, and the fact of the delay in proceeding with the case in court, the occasion by the government in the proceeding of the case in court. So, and the fact of his solitary confinement, detention inclusive confinement at the detention facility. So these are the facts that were presented to them. They are not strange facts. Those are facts that emanated from Nigeria, so which are all known to the Nigerian government too.
All right, Obi Oje from US says, how are you trying to enforce the judgment of the damages awarded to you by the court for illegally invading your house?
But my priority now, I'm preoccupation. Now, my priority now, as far as the argument is concerned, this judgment, I'll give you a copy. I don't know whether I have a soft copy. So, yeah, I'm not all that interested about the money now. My interest lies on my staff who have been detained. Because I've been disturbed, I've been traumatized on the days that I've been detained. These are people who are in my house. They're my staff. I pay their salary every month. That's my salary before they were abducted. So once they are released, then I'll take it up because I will execute the judgment to the letter. I don't want to mention I want to state the manner in which I'll go about the execution. But by the time I start the execution, even you will hear it. Because I'll make sure that all the agencies involved will no longer be paid salary, will not receive salary from the government again. When the time comes, I will make sure that I don't see that money spent. But that's not the point now. When the time comes, you hear it to be all over the places. So, and I will execute the letter as I assure. So when we get to that bridge, you cross it. My demands is for them to release my staff. That's more important to me than any other thing. Then we'll talk about the rest. Thank you.
Osimas, Osi, are you still with us? Osimas? All right, if Osimas is not there, we'll need to go on a short break because Mazi has to be somewhere. We've kept him beyond the time he planned to be here. Just need to let you know that it's Road to 2023 on Symphony, and my guest has been Sir Ifeanyi Ejiofor.
Thank you so much.
Legal counsel to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who has been shedding light on the judgments awarded to him by the court on the illegal invasion of his house, and of course the UN working group on arbitrary detention directive that Nigerian government free Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. That's what he's been shedding light on this evening. We seriously appreciate his presence, and we thank our brothers who have also joined us from overseas. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the program continues. It's still Road to Symphony, Road to 2023 on Symphony.
Thank you.